Welcome to another edition of Special Effects Makeup from those of us from Price Entertainment. I am Mr. Maniacal of Price Entertainment, and today we're going to continue on from our last video session, how to do a zombie makeup. In our first video, if you saw in the series, go back to our YouTube channel, you can see it. In the first video, we did basic highlighting and shadowing. This is something everybody needs to know. We didn't go all out with our makeup job that time because the essentials were there. What you needed to know. Every makeup job, whether you use latex or gelatin or anything you could think of, that's what you're going to finalize your look with. Now today we're going to take a very similar makeup job, a zombie. We're going to use the techniques that we learned in our first video, apply them once we get the appliance on, but this time we're going to add in a little bit of latex work. And we're going to start off by applying a latex piece to the face of our subject. I'm going to glue this on with spirit gum. We're going to touch it up and hide the seams with latex, and then finally we're going to color it in and color in the entire face using the techniques that you learned in the first video. Now, as you see, we have our normal looking individual here. We're going to glue the piece on. Now, this is something that we sculpted and made ourselves. It's got some, wear and tear in it. It's more of a second. That's why we're using it for the video here. But we've already trimmed it up so it will fit on the face accordingly. First and foremost, we're going to use spirit gum, which you can pick up at any makeup supply store, costume shop, or even at your Halloween stores that pop up during the October month in your local area. Spirit gum is used. It's an adhesive that you can put on your skin that will hold on lightweight latex appliances. Now, if you're using something that's a little bit heavier, you may have to try some kind of prosthetic grade adhesive or things of that nature. Now, most of the spirit gum that you purchase will have this very nifty little appliance brush on it. So you can just brush it right on to the skin. You don't have to use a whole lot, just enough. And you want to kind of cover up the areas where the appliance is going to touch the face. Don't worry about drying or anything like that. We're going to show you in a second how you would apply it. Now, I should say, I know because our test subject has worked with us many a times in the haunted attraction industry. He's a longtime actor friend of ours. We know that this stuff is okay on him. But if you're using things like a latex or spirit gum for the very first time, you want to make sure your skin can take the kind of abuse these products will put on it. And a good way to test it out is on the inside of your arm. Put a little bit of spirit gum down, or latex, or anything of that nature. Dab it on there and see if you get any type of reaction. Some people have allergic reactions to these products. You can always go back and glue down your edges. You just want to make sure that the various areas are going to be hit accordingly. Maybe a little bit around the mouth so the appliance will move with your facial expressions. Now, once the spirit gum is applied, you want to tap it down. You see how it kind of holds? That's the texture that you want. You want it that kind of stickiness. But once you get that on there, see how it just holds in place. You can kind of pull it off before it completely dries, reposition it. Now, spirit gum, it does have a remover that you can purchase. Some kits that you buy actually comes with the remover itself, but it is such a mild adhesive that soap and water will also remove the piece as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to hide some of these edges a little bit with a little bit of latex. You don't want to go too heavy, and you don't really want to spread it out too much, like past the, you just want to kind of blend the edges in. Um, so usually what I do is with just a little bit of liquid latex, just dab around the edges. This too, while you're acting in the haunted attractions, if you're going to be doing a makeup for the haunted house, um, this will also help to hold your piece in place. So it serves two purposes for us haunters. It blends the edges, making things a little bit more seamless, and it holds it in place a little bit better. It takes a while for the latex and stuff to dry. You can speed up the dry time with a hair dryer. In the meantime, if you want, there's two things that you can do. You can pre-paint the appliance ahead of time. Kind of cuts down your final prep time when you're getting ready for the whatever attraction or going to a Halloween party or trick-or-treating. Cuts down the time a little bit. If for this purpose, we're going to let that dry a little bit before we touch it up. In the meantime, we're going to paint down some of the... See that the latex is drying and the edges are blending in rather nicely accordingly. There's some spots. Don't worry, if you're going to do this type of makeup for a zombie walk or whatever, there's a thing called fresh scad that we use to kind of cover up certain things of this nature. You will see that in the future. But right now, we're going to go back to what you learned in the first video, and that is the basics, your base color, your highlighting and shadowing. For this makeup, for the sheer purpose of coloring the appliance, we're going to go just a little bit darker. But again, I stress it is my personal preference that you do go lighter and more subtle with your lines because it gives you a more realistic look when you're facing, whether it's you're acting in the haunted attraction, when you're face to face with an individual, it gives you more of a realistic look. So let's start by applying same color as we did in the last video, the cadaver gray. Don't worry about getting all the detail of your appliance. Again, you can cut down some time by pre-painting it. Again, you want your foundation to be as smooth as possible. Now, if you notice there's some areas where we need to touch up, we're going to do that. Okay. Now we're going to be doing some basic shadowing. Again, we're not going to do the whole face and head. We'll put a wig on, do your ears, your neck, any area that's exposed, remember to do that. We're just focusing on applying this and coloring it in and blending it in. And kind of continuing on the evil arched brow look we did on the other side. Come out that great. Now here, see how we're going to cut in a little bit. Here, look at that. See how here we're going to cut a little bit into the prosthetic. I want to go a little, kind of blend it in as best as possible with the way that the prosthetic As you can see, we are touching up various aspects of the prosthetic to give it a more gored out zombie look. We're using various colors. I'm using a burns and blisters actually for the wound around the mouth. And yes, I purposely put some red on the teeth, kind of give it a more chomped up, bloody look. You can use fresh scab and blood to gore it out some more. But blood and fresh scab does tend to dry up and drip off over time. So the more color you give yourself in a base, the longer it tends to last. Okay. Now, to complete a makeup like this, again, if you want to wear this makeup for a long period of time in the haunted attraction industry or whatnot, you can go to your local costume shop, get a thing called fresh scab. It's a wonderful blood gel. It kind of adheres. It does tend to dry out after a little bit. Blood, you can use a little bit more, liquidy. But something to this effect, you're just going to want to gore it up. Get it to where it's going to drip. With the fresh scab, you go around the face, helps blend in some of the edges. And there you have it. With a makeup like this, he can move his mouth and, be chomping on brains at the Zombie Walk, Zombie Fest, haunted attraction near you. With anything, let your imagination soar. Go to your costume shops, find the various appliances that you can use. Let your creativity flow and create yourself as a more horrific monster haunting the halls of your haunted attraction or on the streets this Halloween or at whatever zombie fest or walk that you may do since they're so mainstream. This is how we would apply a simple basic zombie. You take these basic techniques, let your imagination soar. Till next time, my friends, I'm Mr. Maniacal of Price Entertainment. Happy haunting. Oh, we gotta get you some brains there. Now, bring in the brains.